Hi everybody and welcome back. So the question for today is, do you need to know grammar and know it well to be able to pitch successfully to the press? Grammar seems to be one of those topics that just puts fear into some people's hearts. Some people love it and get on with it and know what they're doing. Others bumble the way along and are really not sure where to put those apostrophes or when they need a full stop or how to manage brackets. And I just wanted to talk to you about that today because I get the impression that it's holding some of you up from actually contacting the press because you're worried that you're going to get it wrong and make a fool of yourself. And what I'd like to say to you right now on the back of that is please don't panic and don't worry. There are ways to make sure that you're doing it right enough. So the answer to the question, do you need to know grammar well to be able to pitch to the press, is a resounding yes and no. So let me explain a little bit about that. I've said a few times now on this channel that what really sets the journalist alight is if you do a good job for them and make it easy for them. So when you're pitching in, if the idea is great and the angle that you want to take is great, they're going to be excited about that. Then when you deliver that feature or that story or that news story, if it also has fantastic grammar, everything's spelt correctly, they don't have to do any work to it, then obviously that's going to be even better. But really, what they're looking for initially is a good story, a really powerful, magical story that only you can deliver because of your knowledge or your insight or an experience that you've had. But when it gets to the actual sending them the story stage, you're actually sending in the written story or written feature or news or whatever it is you're sending in, that's when they're going to want to see certain things. And I want to talk you through those now. So I'm not going to say to you, please get your grammar perfect, because I know that probably isn't going to be easy for everybody. But there are some things you can do that's really going to help. Now, first off, moving away from grammar, I just want to talk about spelling. Now, journalists probably won't feel a lot of love for you if you send in a feature that's got a lot of spelling mistakes. And the reason is we've all got spell checkers on our computers. And if you are not spell checking your work before you send it in, that just shows a level of laziness, really, that the journalists aren't going to appreciate. Now, I know that spell checkers can be a little bit odd, and sometimes they change things that you haven't noticed. So they may change an S to a Z in specialised, for instance, and various other sort of words that are spelt either an English way or an American way, and it takes the American way. And they may forgive you that because you might have just not noticed it. But once you've spell checked your work, always reread it and see if you can spot those anomalies that your spell checker has put in there for you. Because the more you can get that right, the better, really. So please spell check your work. Now, grammar is slightly different because not everybody knows the rules. And the journalist sort of understands that. So with grammar, I would say do the best you can with it. You know, don't be lackadaisical and just think, oh, that'll do. Go through your work and see whether you can spot any obvious mistakes you've made that you know about and you can easily see and easily correct. And then there's a couple of other things that you can do. Is first off, sign up to something like Grammarly, which helps you with that. You can get a free version and it tells you if you've done something wrong with your grammar. Now, it doesn't pick up everything. The more complex the words and the grammar that you need to use, the less likely it is to be useful for you. But for some of the very basic grammatical errors, it will help you correct those. So Grammarly is a really good tool to help you with that. You could also get a book to help you. I've got one here, which I'll see if I can get the camera to focus on for you. There you go. This is just a small book called Grammar, and you can see the rest. I'm not going to say because that would mean I'd have to swear. And this I just picked up from a local shop and in town, and it's really useful because it does go through very, very, very clearly what you should be thinking about some of the common grammatical mistakes. It does common spellings as well. This is by Joanne Adams, and that's really useful. So you can get yourself a book to help you along the way and just keep referring to it when you get stuck. And then the other thing I wanted to urge you to do, and this isn't just about getting the grammar correct from an English speaking perspective. This is about getting it right for the place that you're sending your feature to. Let me explain about that. Every magazine, publication, newspaper, even website will have its own guidelines as far as grammar and spelling are concerned. And two things here: you can either ask the editor for a style guide, and most of them will have that and they will send it to you, and if you ask them for that, they're going to be quite impressed. So definitely do that if you feel you can, and if they haven't got one, they will just tell you. And then what you need to do if they haven't got one, and even if they have, the thing that you should be doing is actually looking at the publication or the website and reading it and looking to see what grammar they use, because not all places use sort of Queen's English anymore, proper grammar, and they may have slang words, they may have a different way of doing things depending on their audience. You want to look at, how they use bullet points. For instance, some bullet pointed sentences have full stops at the end and some don't. Some numbered lists have full stops at the end of each sentence and some don't. They may use single quotation marks or double quotation marks. They may hit exclamation marks. You might notice there's none in there. So you do just have to do some research. Read every line of every page of that magazine or website that you're looking at, and just write down some things that you notice, how they use their grammar. Just take some notes for yourself, and when you're writing for them now and in the future, just refer back to that list of notes alongside the proper grammar, and just make sure that you're doing the correct thing for that magazine. Now, I know that sounds quite laborious, but this is about getting you the best chance of being in the press in a very powerful way. If you make a good job of it, then they'll really be pleased with you, and they'll help you publish and publicise the thing that you've done for them. They'll want to use you again. When you contact them, they'll be like, oh yeah, she or he did a really good job for us last time. We really didn't have to do a lot to that piece that they sent in, so yeah, let's go with them again. It really puts you head and shoulders above the rest. Now, I'll refer back to what I said at the beginning. Don't panic, because journalists realise that the people who are writing for them, from our perspective, business owners' perspective, they're not going to know everything. They haven't been to journalism school. They might not have even studied English at school, and they don't expect you to get everything right. But the more you can do to help get it right, the better, really. And if there are the odd mistakes in there, nobody's going to care, because when a feature's written for a magazine, it always goes through at least 2 or 3 reads before it gets to press. There'll be a person who's specially appointed to read the features and make sure that they're as they should be before they hit send to press. So any mistakes that you have made will be picked up, but the fewer you can have in there, the better. The other thing just to check, as well as sort of the proper grammar, is to look at what tense they write their features in. Is it present tense, past tense? Do they use said or says when they're quoting people? Just look at all that detail, and then you can write your features accordingly. So that's just a quick whirlwind around my thoughts on grammar when you're writing to the press. Any questions, of course, put them in the comments below and I'll get back to you quickly and answer them for you. Of course, I'd love it if you would subscribe to this channel. Just hit the subscribe button and the technology will do the rest. And if you also click on the bell, you'll be notified whenever I go live with a new video. So please do that too. Thanks for being here, guys, and I'll see you next time.